Greetings, booktubers, and welcome back to Grammaticus Books. And today on the channel, we're going to talk about an excellent little novel by Roger Zelazny from 1969, and that novel is Damnation Alley. Damnation Alley, we're going to take a trip with Roger Zelazny through Damnation Alley here today on the channel. And I just finished reading this book, and I'm going to give you guys my thoughts here on it today. This copy I've got in my hand is a Berkeley Medallion, a press edition from 1970, with a decent piece of science fiction artwork on the cover. Unfortunately, the cover here, the artwork has absolutely nothing to do with the story at all. I think it was a piece of stock art that Berkeley Medallion had laying around in their inventory for another novel that probably didn't get published. And when they published this book here, they pulled it out of their inventory and just slapped it on here. But it's a total non sequitur to the novel. So what is the novel about? Well, Damnation Alley is a near-future post-apocalyptic science fiction story by Roger Zelazny. I'm going to set this down over here to save my shoulder. And there's been a nuclear exchange that has destroyed the planet, and there are only two population centers that are left on the face of planet Earth. You have the nation of California, and you have the city of Boston. And in between there, you have Damnation Alley, which is an absolute hellscape from this nuclear war. You've got irradiated hotspots, you've got volcanoes, you have these killer storms that pop up, walls of tornadoes that will destroy anything that get in their way, lightning storms where the lightning is coming down as thick as raindrops. You have irradiated animals and insects that are giant nature and size and will attack anything that they can spot. And on the fringes of this hellscape, you have these outlaw biker gangs that will attack and murder anybody that they can get a hold of. And it's so dangerous, this Damnation Alley, that nobody has ever successfully crossed it up until the beginning of the book here. And at the beginning of the book, the catalyst for the plot is that Boston has contracted the plague. They've contracted the same plague that the nation of California had a couple of years earlier, for which they had developed a vaccine. But Boston has to get word to California that they have the plague, and the only way you can do that is by driving across Damnation Alley, because you can't use radios. The ionosphere has been disrupted to the point where radio communication does not work, and you can't fly there, because if you send up more than just a couple of 100 feet into the air, you hit these jet streams that are absolutely murderous, that are traveling at hundreds of miles an hour, that are so powerful they will rip off the tops of mountains and then carry the debris along with them, so that when you look up into the sky, the jet streams just look like these dirty streaks going across the sky. And if two of these jet streams meet each other and cancel each other out, then all that debris that they picked up comes raining down upon you like a meteor storm. And this is Damnation Alley. So Boston outfits a car and miraculously gets it from Boston to California at the start of the novel. But the car loses its radioactive plating, its radioactive defenses as it's going across, and the driver is dying of radiation sickness as he pulls into California, and with his dying breath gives them the news about the plague in California. And now the nation of California knows about it, and they decide that they can't let half of the Earth's population die off. They have to try to save Boston. So they put together crews to drive their own vehicles back across Damnation Alley. And yes, you can see where this is going. Our main character, who's named Hell Tanner, that is in fact his name. His first name is Hell, his last name is Tanner. Hell Tanner is going to be one of the drivers driving one of these three vehicles that's going to attempt to cross Damnation Alley and take the vaccine from California to Boston. But Hell Tanner is a criminal. He's not a volunteer. The other members of this team are volunteers, but Hell Tanner is the last of the motorcycle gang leaders who's been captured. He's renowned for his ability to drive vehicles, for his quick thinking, and for his ruthlessness. And they need a last driver for the last vehicle. So they come to Hell Tanner and they give him an offer he can't refuse. He's been captured, and they tell him right before sentencing, either you drive the third vehicle or you're going to be executed or imprisoned for life. So with not very many options in front of him, Hell Tanner obviously accepts. They promise him a full pardon if he drives the vehicle, and our plot is underway and going. And you're now following Hell Tanner in one of these three cars as it attempts to cross Damnation Alley, filled with the vaccine in order to save the city of Boston. Now, the cars themselves that they put them into are part of the stars of the show here. They're one of the main characters along with Hell Tanner. And the cars are these 8-wheeled armored personnel carriers. They have armor plating on them. They've been insulated against the radiation, and they've been equipped with rocket launchers, 50 caliber machine guns, flamethrowers, and extendable and retractable blades. And they still don't know if it's going to be enough to get them across Damnation Alley. And Hell Tanner, there's an observation about Hell Tanner that is right on the point that I need to bring out here on this book, because it's absolutely on the nose in terms of describing who Hell Tanner is. And this is not my observation. I can't take credit for it. Michael K. Vaughan actually realized this when he was reading the book, and on his review of this book from about 4 years ago, he brought this out. But it's so on point that I need to bring it up here as well. But I also need to give credit where credit is due. And this was Michael K. Vaughan's observation, not mine. I completely missed it until I saw his video. And I was like, yes, he's 100% right. And his observation is that Hell Tanner is Snake Plissken. Hell Tanner is Snake Plissken from Escape from New York, the movie from 1981, the John Carpenter, Kurt Russell vehicle, or rather I should say Snake Plissken is Hell Tanner, because Hell Tanner came way before Snake Plissken. But you've got Hell Tanner, you've got Snake Plissken. They're both criminals who are captured by the government, who are then given a choice that isn't really a choice in order to go into a post-apocalyptic hellscape and try to retrieve something or carry out a mission. It's exactly the same thing. So John Carpenter, who co-wrote Escape from New York, along with Nick Castle, one of the two of them absolutely read Damnation Alley, and they took and channeled Hell Tanner out of Damnation Alley, and they made him Snake Plissken for that 1981 movie. So I need to give credit to Michael K. Vaughan again for that, but it is right on the nose. That's a perfect description. If you're wondering, what Hell Tanner is like, he's just like Snake Plissken out of Escape from New York. So this is our story, and you've got Snake Plissken, you've got Hell Tanner in the lead vehicle driving across this hellscape of Damnation Alley, and it is basically one long road trip through this adventure from the starting out point there in the nation of California, attempting to get to the end point, which is Boston, with one danger after another in this cross-country road trip across hell. And that is the book Damnation Alley. It's a nice, tight novel, and it reads very well, and I do recommend it. Now, it started off as a novella. It was originally a novella, and then they asked Roger Zelazny to expand it out into novel form to make it a little more marketable as a book, and they did that. And when they did that, it did lose a little bit of its straightforwardness. It did lose a little bit of the tightness of the plot that it had as a novella, but it is still very, very good. I think it would have been probably a little better in its original format as a novella, or it would have been better if Roger Zelazny had expanded it out not to 157 pages, but to about 257 pages, and added in a lot more plot development and a lot more plot arcs. That would have worked very well additionally, but this is still a very good book. It's also a rather unusual science fiction novel for Roger Zelazny, and it's unusual for Roger Zelazny in a couple of different ways. The first way that it's unusual is that it is a straight science fiction novel by Roger Zelazny. Roger Zelazny has a tendency to blend and make a fusion of science fiction and high epic fantasy when he's writing his sci-fi. It's almost never pure sci-fi. It's got this high epic fantasy aspect to it that has been blended into his science fiction in a blend that I like to refer to as Zelantasy. But this novel right here, Damnation Alley, is pure sci-fi. There is no fantasy element in here at all. It's just a pure science fiction novel by Roger Zelazny, and that is rather unusual for him. The other unusual thing is that his protagonist, Hell Tanner, is not a demigod. He's not this super-powered human. Roger Zelazny loves to write demigods into his books. This Immortal, The Lord of Light, the Amber Chronicles, they all feature protagonists that are superhuman. They have extraordinary powers. And where Hell Tanner is a very capable human being, he is most definitely a human being. He is not one of these superpowered characters. And so that's different for Roger Zelazny in this novel as well. And then the last sort of unusual aspect to the book here by Roger Zelazny is he gets very poetic. In fact, it actually turns into a poem here for a couple of pages here at the end of the book. And I don't know if that's something that he expanded out on when he took this from a novella to a novel, but it does change into pure poetry for several of the pages at the end of the book, which is a little unusual. In fact, it's very unusual, but it does read very well. It's Roger Zelazny. He's a master wordsmith, and this is a masterfully crafted novel here. It's not a perfect novel by any chance, but it is a very hard-hitting, post-apocalyptic action ride that you can read about here in this book. And I give it a solid 8 out of 10. Now, they did make a movie out of Damnation Alley in 1977. The movie is terrible. Don't watch the movie. It is an aberration of the book, and you'll be very disappointed if you do watch that movie. Although they did a good job in their translation of the armored vehicles. They made a very cool looking and interesting armored vehicle for those movies. But everything else about that movie is pretty awful. But that is Damnation Alley. If you read Damnation Alley and you've got thoughts on it, did you like it? Did you watch the movie? What did you think of the movie? Put it down in the comments section below. I'd love to hear about it. And with that, I'm going to wrap this one up and say take care, be safe, and I'll catch you guys next time.